Hi, good morning everyone. My name is Pedro Hernández. I am the editor-in-chief for the Ivanhoe Sol, a bilingual community-owned newsletter that serves the community of Ivanhoe here in Tulare County. This morning I'm going to be making one of my favorite breakfasts, chilaquiles, and I hope you all enjoy. So chilaquiles are a Mexican breakfast that consists of fried tortillas with a sauce. My version is going to be tortilla sauce that we're going to be making in our first step, but also mixed with some veggies like spinach and mushrooms to add a little more texture and nutrition as well too. It's also something that is served with an egg, whether it's scrambled or over easy. Today we're going to be making them fried. And so they're a dish that can lend themselves really easily to people who are vegetarian, or if you remove the egg and use tofu, you can customize it for vegans as well. So our first step is we're gonna make our sauce for the chilaquiles. We're going to be roasting up some tomatoes here on the stove for the next 5 to 10 minutes, and then we'll be roasting up a couple of other ingredients before we put them in the blender. So for the first step, we're going to be roasting up these tomatoes to get a little bit of a deeper, more texture and flavor to our sauce as well too. So what I'm first going to do is put all these tomatoes into this pan here, and I'm going to begin roasting them for about like I said, maybe 3 to 4 minutes on each side, and try to get all of the sides of the tomato as well. So now our pan is just about warming up. It's about medium heat, just to make sure that these tomato skins are able to roast, but don't burn too much and stick to your pan as well too. So this is something that, you know, just waiting a little more saves you the mess from cleaning up, and also saves you the time as well too. So we'll be waiting about 3 or 4 minutes, so we'll be setting our timer. While our tomatoes are roasting, we're gonna pull our second ingredient, which is Guajillo chiles here. These are dehydrated, so we're gonna put them in some water just to rehydrate them a little bit more before we use them in our chile sauce as well too. We're gonna add here about maybe 12 to 15 of them, just to get a good amount. As well too. We'll be taking off the stems and deseeding them as well, but this should be a good amount just to get us started. So I'm actually going to turn up this heat a little more on this pan. As we can see, we see a little bit of a color change, but not quite yet. So we're going to wait just a little bit longer, just before we flip them. So while our tomatoes are roasting, we're going to take a couple of minutes to chop some tortillas, which are the base of the chilaquiles, in which everything will be on top of. And so there's no right way to chop the tortillas. You can cut them into strips. I'm going to be cutting them into triangles for our dish today. So just nothing too crazy, just chopping it into 8 pieces here. And see, you get a nice small kind of bite-sized tortilla strip as well too, and we'll be frying them in a couple of minutes. And then mixing them up here in the salsa that we're cooking. So while we actually are finished chopping our tortillas, we can take a quick second to see how some of our tomatoes are roasting as well too. And this is the kind of texture that we want to begin to see before we turn them into salsa. So as you can see, you kind of see more deeper color as well here. And again, so we're just going to stir these just to make sure we're getting a lot of coverage and make sure that they actually are hydrated again. Yeah. So as I mentioned earlier, I'm the editor-in-chief for the Ivanhoe Sol. It's a community-owned newspaper. It's out every month for the community of Ivanhoe, and it's mailed to every house in the zip code over there. And so a little bit of the history behind the newspaper is that myself and some other members of the community had worked on a lot of different community priorities, like getting sidewalks, making sure that water was safe to drink over there, making sure that the county was aware of the community's interest in seeing more green space and more parks as well too. So that's how I had met, the group of folks in Ivanhoe that I know now. But in probably August, September of 2019, we participated in a study that identified kind of what the priorities were for rural communities in the San Joaquin Valley as far as what news they wanted to hear. And from the study and just from analyzing everything here in the area, we identified that a lot of Spanish-speaking newspapers were in decline, and that existing newspapers didn't penetrate rural communities as much as they needed to. So we pursued a grant and won $25,000 to create the Ivanhoe Sol. And so what we actually cover in them, or in the monthly publications, is anything from climate change, immigration and DACA. We've recently discussed the Black Lives Matter protest in the community, and we also highlight things like graduations, community art, and creative writing that people submit as well too. So everything that we cover tries to meet the needs of the community, and we try to highlight the voices of the community in every opportunity we get as well too. So we're trying really hard to make sure that it's something that's community driven, and it's something that the people who are reading it can be proud of as well too. And so as we can see here, there's a little more coloring on our tomatoes here, and they're just about ready. So we're gonna maybe flip them in a couple more spots before we kind of get them off the heat and into the blender. So as you can see, there's a good char around the sides as well too, which means they begin to cook a little bit. So now I'm going to take these off. You can see here we have a little more color. So I'm just take this off here, put these on these bowls, and let them cool down a little bit before I peel the skin and put them into the blender here. And as we can see here, these have been cooking for a good maybe 10 or 15 minutes now. And although you can't see it, they are hydrated a little more. So we're gonna take these out of the water in maybe another 3 or 4 minutes right now. So now that these have cooked for a good maybe 15 or 20 minutes, I'm gonna take these and drain them with this lovely strainer while we prepare them in our next step for the blender. So for our next step, we're just gonna take the stems and seeds off of the Guajillo chiles, just so we're not eating these in our sauce as well. And now that these are a little more heated, you can kind of get the aroma starts wafting through the room here. And so it's up to your discretion how spicy you want your salsa, but you do have the option of deseeding these chiles as well too. I'll be deseeding maybe about half of them just to get a good balance. And as well too, but you can see how many chiles is actually have here. So now that we took out this, the stems from these Guajillo chiles and some of the seeds as well too, we have about maybe 7 or 8 total that we're going to be reserving here for the sauce. So I'm going to place them over here and put the rest of our chiles to the side. We don't need any more for today. So as you can see here, we have our kind of tomatoes that cooled down already. We've let them hang out for about 5 minutes, and what we're going to do is just to do a quick round of peeling some of this kind of more charred skin as well too, just to ensure that these burnt pieces aren't getting into the salsa, because really what we want is the kind of like tender cooked inside as well too for our salsa. so we're almost at the point where we're gonna start blending our salsa. Really quick, for about a minute or two, I'm just gonna lightly saute some onions just to add a little more depth to the flavor and to add a little more texture to the salsa as well too. So I'm just gonna add a little bit of olive oil to the pan here. All right, so now we're at the point we've all been waiting for, where we get to mix our salsa. So in no particular order, we're gonna add some of the tomatoes. I'm gonna chop them in half just to make them a little more digestible for the blender. Then add our chiles here and our onions as well, with a little bit of cilantro to taste. We're gonna add just tiny bit of onion here. Again, and like any salsa, this is something that can be completely customized to your own taste as well too. So feel free to go crazy with this as well. We're gonna turn this on and hopefully it works. No, yeah, it will work. Hopefully. It's all right. So now we're gonna turn this on, and I hope like it just doesn't like not go right now. So we're gonna see. So as you can see, you'll get a nice red salsa as well here. There is the version Chilaquiles verdes with green chiles as well too, but as you can see, we're having the red version this morning. So now that we have our salsa prepared, which again, a quick reminder, depending on your own taste as well too, you completely have the ability to remove all, some, or none of the chili seeds as well too. But for our next step, we're going to be frying up our tortillas as well too. So I'm heating up this pan. Some of the water is evaporating right now. I'll turn on this fan, while this fan is on, just to kind of make sure my glasses aren't fogging up right now. But now our next couple of steps are going to be much more faster than our chile preparation. We're going to fry up some tortillas. We're going to saute up some mushrooms and some spinach, and then chop up some avocados really quickly, just to put them all together in a much bigger pan. So. And again, you saw here, we cut our tortilla chips into triangles a couple of minutes earlier. You know, again, you can just use these store-bought. You can make them if you want as well too. So just I'm putting in a couple just to kind of test the temperature. Once we start seeing some of the bubbling around the edges, we're right at the temperature we want. Start stirring these. Again, we're gonna want a nice like golden brown, not burnt, but definitely we want them firm and a little crispy as well too, because we're going to be mixing these in the sauce. So we want to make sure they don't like get too soggy or fall apart. And so while these are cooking up, I'm actually going to start slicing some avocados right now that we're going to add up to like a garnish on the side.
Pedro, do you use a certain technique when you're cutting avocados?
Yeah, here, I'll show you right now. You know, a couple years ago, I was reading in the news that some people were getting avocado hands, you know, which essentially was, you know, cutting their hands during opening an avocado. And so, I mean, I don't know if there was a trick that I particularly use. It's, I hold it, I just cut it in half here. You know, and I slice it kind of down the middle here and scoop everything out with the spoon to make sure that kind of nothing is wasted on the inside and you kind of get a more uniform shape as well too. As far as getting the seed out, I just do a quick tap here and kind of get it on the knife and safely take it off as well.
Oh, thank you for sharing, Pedro.
So after a couple of minutes, we've fried up some of our tortilla chips. This is our last round. As well too. Again, be careful not to use too much oil. Again, if you do, there's always the option of placing them on a paper towel to make sure some of that drains as well. So now we're gonna, while some of these are finishing toasting off, we're gonna move on to our maybe second or third to the last step of our breakfast today, which is just sauteing up some mushrooms. We have just some regular sliced white mushrooms here. You can use definitely anything that's in your pantry or in the grocery store as well too. Again, this is your breakfast, so make sure you make it however you'd like as well. Once these get a little more tender, we'll add in some handfuls of spinach just for a little more nutritional value in our breakfast. So we're just going to take some good washed spinach and just put this right on top as well too. Don't be afraid to get some good big handfuls in here as well. So after about 2 to 4 minutes of sauteing here, we have our mushroom and spinach mix ready. So again, like I said, this was really quick. After the salsa, most everything falls into place. So I'm going to leave this here. I just took this off I just turned off the heat, and now we're going to be moving to our last 2 steps for today, making our eggs and putting everything together. So hold tight everyone, and we're almost at breakfast. We're going to heat up our pan with a brief or small kind of dab of oil, unless you're using a really good non-stick pan. Everyone makes their eggs differently. I actually prefer just with a bit of pepper. So again, after we finish our eggs in these next couple of minutes, our next step after is mixing everything together. So we're going to take our tortilla chips and our salsa and cook things up as well. We're going to mix our spinach and mushroom mix in there as well. And top things off with some avocado. So after is the assembly part, where we just put everything together, stack it, and get to enjoy our lovely breakfast. So as you can see here, we have our 2 eggs prepared, and now we're moving on to our final step. So we're going to take now some of our fried tortilla chips and add these into this lovely pan. And we're going to wait for these to heat up a little more, since just in case it's been a couple of minutes when you removed your tortilla chips from the pan. We're just going to reheat these a little more. And in the meanwhile, reach to our salsa that we're going to be pouring in here. Now again, a little bit of our mushroom and spinach mix here. I can see again, it's just a quick process of heating everything up, mixing it together, and making sure things don't get too soggy. So again, just really want to emphasize, don't cook everything too much, because again, there's this extra round of, mixing everything and heating things up, where this is the kind of last touch, last dotting the T's and crossing the I's before you put these on the plate. So now I'm just going to take these off the heat and begin plating everything. And again, just scoop things out with the spoon here, so you get a nice even spoonful here. And if you are a big fan of any cheese, you can use cotija cheese, really any cheese that you think would be best, mozzarella as well. Again, we just sprinkle things on top, add some calcium to this breakfast. Now it is ready to enjoy. So again, on behalf of the Ivanhoe Sol, I'd like to extend my thanks to the viewers and of course to FoodLink for Tulare County for being such an amazing resource for this area. And again, creating space for people like me and other members of the community to learn how to cook and also learn to eat healthier things for our diet as well, to protect the communities and ourselves for the future that we want to see. So again, thank you again for FoodLink for Tulare County. It's been wonderful and I'm looking forward to being back here.